All right, Coach, what's going on, man? How are things going down in North Carolina?
They're going pretty good, man. We just had our little combine we put on for the youth yesterday, so that was pretty fun over
Oh,
at Jack
nice.
Britt. Yeah, we our coach puts together a pretty good one, um, and Dick sponsored it, so that was pretty cool. They came out and helped us out. It was pretty fun. Had the
Oh,
alumni out there, everything. It was pretty dope.
that's real cool. Now, do you guys have like, so I know for my everywhere, like when I coached North Carolina, it's different. Everyone's different, but like so we were Roanoke Rapids High School. We had the middle school who was obviously the feeder into the program, but then I don't know if we had like youth, like at least not to my knowledge, a lot of like youth programs. Is there like one feeder program for you guys, or do you have a couple different
So
programs?
I don't know if we have one specific. The way I've known it to be since I lived in Fayetteville is um, because I didn't play youth ball here in
Right,
Fayetteville. I played in Harnett County. But all my buddies, they told me kind of like everyone's kind of mixed throughout. So like they have different air. Like Hope Mills has their own,
right.
and then like another region has their own, and then like as you're going through, you end up in different middle schools. So like even when I was in high school, a lot of my teammates, they knew probably 90% of every other team because they all played together
Right,
on the same rec team. So
right.
I don't know if we have a specific feeder. I think it's just all kind of like, based on wherever your parents put you in a rec program somewhere,
So you
and
don't
you end up
have
on a
there's
team.
not like a Jack Britt middle school that you guys are or like or does I guess do you guys as the varsity program have input in what the middle school does like offensively, defensively, things like that?
So we have John Griffin Middle. That's our like technical feeder school, and then we have another one where some of the kids go, and it's New Century Middle School.
Okay.
Depending on where they live, they'll come because John Griffin is literally right around the corner from Jack Britt.
Yeah.
Um, Now, as far as the say so, I haven't been at Jack Britt long enough to know any of the coaches over there. Um, all the other coaches I work with, they all know him pretty well. The head
Yeah.
coach who was there at John Griffin, I don't know if he's still there. Um, I don't think they necessarily have a say so. What did happen, we had one coach who was a volunteer who we also volunteered at the middle school. He helped implement like our warm up. So like we clap
Okay.
before every rep on a warm up.
Yeah.
I know we had that going. I don't think they necessarily ran the same stuff as us,
But there's
offensively
a
and
little bit,
defensively.
yeah, there's a
Yeah,
little bit of familiarity.
yeah. So that when they come up, and then we do like we just last week was our last week of it, where middle schoolers came over on Mondays and Wednesdays, or yeah, Mondays and Wednesdays, and they would work out in the weight room and kind of get a feel for what the weight room would be like.
Sure.
Our strength coach, Coach Weingart, is phenomenal. Like his programming is phenomenal. So he gets to get that for anyone who shows up. They don't have track or anything.
Right.
He gets to get that early like base learning out of the way. So when they come during the summer, they get to just hit it and rock and roll.
That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually, I mean, that's now again, it's kind of like I said, it's all over the place. Like I've seen most places do that, like where the eighth graders can kind of come
Yeah,
start getting a lift, but obviously you get some where it's this is what we want you to run and you better run it or
yeah,
there's going to be problems. But
yeah.
anyways, well, all right, let's start talking a little bit about football, man. So I always got to ask everybody, talk to me about how the offensive line has played a role in some of the teams that you've been a part of. The success they've had or have not had.
Um, it's a good offensive line is what carries the team. They set the mentality. So where I played at Douglas Byrd here in Fayetteville,
Hmm.
and we averaged 11 wins, and every year our O line was like huge. Like especially my
Right.
freshman year, where they averaged probably like 300 across the board. We got smaller as it went, but um, the best year I've seen was my sophomore year. That team, uh, they went undefeated, lost in the third round. But the biggest thing I noticed that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about is like even if the O line isn't talented to what you would think they'd be, as long as they're a tight knit unit, you
Yeah.
can make up for a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Um, so like my senior year, like I was the only senior. Um, we weren't very big. We were faster, so we did a lot of tunnel screens. We did a lot of pull. Like we were super fast.
Hmm.
But compared to some of the D lines we faced, like I was playing left tackle at 210. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
like like I had a my advantage was I just got off the ball super fast. Other than that, I
Right.
wasn't moving much, but I was there. But like we were just tight knit. Like
Yeah.
that's my favorite part of the O line is the brotherhood because that's what I get my guys to understand is like you go somewhere and my icebreaker is, hey, did you play any sports? And if I find out this dude played football and then I find he played O-line, I automatically understand where
Right.
he's at. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So for me, that's what I've noticed. Like this year at Jack Britt, O-line wise, we're only losing one returning senior. Um, so I'm putting the pressure on myself that we need to be really good up front. I have a
Yeah.
lot of size. We have a lot of IQ, very smart kids. They're aggressive, they're long, they're strong. Like it's almost that perfect scenario where it's like what we're saying is adults in the room. So if we're not
Right.
successful, well, I got to figure something out. So
Right.
um, but anytime I've seen it, it's always seen is the O line is always they're the knuckleheads, they're the
Yeah.
enforcers, they're the ones
The
making sure
character
everything's going
guys.
right. Yeah, they're the everything you need them to be when you need them to be kind of guys.
Right. Well, if you guys struggle, you can just blame Justin. That's the easy
Oh,
blame.
yeah, easy fat. I'll just, but man, I love that dude. We have a great relationship.
Yeah.
We'll text all the time and he'll be, hey, what are you seeing? What are you thinking? And we'll figure things out all the time. And he teaches me a ton. Like,
Yeah.
um, I'll hit him up and like, how do you watch film or how are you breaking down your cut? Like, I love learning football, so I'll ask
Right.
him anything. I'll ask him anything, and we'll sit there and talk O line all the time. And it was kind of unique scenario for me coming into Jack Britt was I was coming in behind a really good offensive line coach who I text pretty frequently. I only knew him for like a week before I took the job.
Right.
Um, but they had like the top rusher in the county. He was the top
Yeah.
rusher in 4A. So like he ended up getting a college job. So I was coming to a scenario where it's like, okay, I really can't mess this up because these guys have already, like they've done pretty well. So, but like it wasn't no like, if things went wrong, it didn't get like, oh, the new guy did it, so
Right.
like Coach G really like kind of like took me under his wing and let me figure things out. And that's how I, started texting you more and all these other coaches. He's like, dude, you got to network. And he literally said, you got to hit up my dude, Schiffman and my dude Leggett. So you, him, and Tatum were my first three dudes I started hitting when it came to O-line stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been fun. I love it.
No, it's really is a good, and I know we're joking a little bit about Justin, but he does a great job on
Yeah.
kind of on the relationship networking piece on Twitter for sure. But no, it's awesome, man. It's good to put pressure on yourself though, right? Because like we
Mm-hmm.
all, I think that's probably one of the negatives of offensive line coaches, at least the majority of offensive line coaches, is we're perfectionists and we
Mm-hmm.
want things to be done a certain way, and we all have high expectations of ourselves, of our players, of everything, and um, it's how we handle those expectations is kind of how we are as coaches too, right? Like some guys, if they
Mm-hmm.
don't reach those expectations, blow up and MF kids and all that stuff, whereas other guys are able to talk to them and talk them off the ledge, so to speak, and
Yeah.
get them to do the right thing. So, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the good attributes as an offensive line coach is we're able to kind of be that guy, that technician, which is all
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
O-line's about. But
Yeah.
um, I saw in your bio you have a kind of a unique experience. Obviously, you talked a little bit about you played high school football. Um, I always ask people when they start kind of getting the coaching itch, and you talked about it in your bio. You said, your junior year, and then you got your first coaching job smack bang out of high school. Were you out of high school when you started coaching, or were you like helping out as an 18-year-old? Because you started coaching at 18.
Yeah.
Was it like that situation where it was like second semester senior year you were coaching, or had you graduated high school by that point?
So I can't remember the exact. I want to say, um, it was like so. I was my very first. I say because I wasn't actually like coaching, but my first time being around doing that and helping was I helped do a rec basketball team.
Okay.
I was still in school for that, but I used that as my senior project because I did coaching as my senior project.
Okay.
So um, I used that as my like hours because I knew the head coach. Um, but I want to say when I actually started coaching, I coached at a school here, Fayetteville Christian. The youth pastor or the head coach for the middle school team was my old youth pastor.
Uh-huh.
And he hit me up and was like, I know you said you wanted to coach. I can help you get your foot in the door. It's not football, but you do it. And I actually loved it because if no one ever has, I would not recommend it, but I also would. Coaching at a private school in that realm,
Right.
that helped me learn. One of the biggest pieces of advice I ever got was I have to learn how to talk to people. And I love, like, you can ask anybody. I can have any conversation with anybody. Tough, like, I'm a conversationalist. So like,
Right.
but being in that realm where I have to be able. That's why I learned to tell the mom that her baby Timmy is not going to be in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Right.
had to be able to say, "Hey, your baby's not that good," without saying, "Hey, your kid ain't that good."
Right.
So being in that realm, being at a Christian school, it learned that I learned that I was, what they call player coaches. Like I could connect with kids. I was only 2 years older than most of them. So
Right.
um but yeah, so that I want to say I started that shortly after I graduated because I was working because I'd have to leave work, go pick up one of my friend's little brothers from school, drop him off, go back to practice. Um but yeah, I started there. We did middle school and then we jumped up to JV. And then that's when my head coach came back into Fayetteville, Coach Russell
Okay.
Stone, a legend in North Carolina. Um, and he went to Village Christian, and that's when I first started doing football.
Okay.
We were there. We were runner up in the state championship there, and for the private school conference stuff. And then that's when I ended up in Hickory, and that was my first real taste of like public school, that whole realm. So,
Right.
but yeah, when I realized I was 210, 215, and I literally couldn't gain weight, like they say, if a mom has boys, they're going to eat you out of house and home. Well, I was trying to triple that because I was like, Mom, I got to gain weight. I want to play.
Right.
Like, I knew from an age, I wanted to play O line early on. Like, I loved everything about it. I had 1 year where I wanted to play tight end, but then I was like, I was away from the O line, and I
Right.
never forget it. My O line coach, he passed away recently. I love that dude, but he took all the O linemen out for dinner, and that whole week, I was down catching passes, so I didn't get to go. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
no, I can't do that. I can't not be a part of that. So I was like, yeah, I'm going back to O line.
That's
Um,
funny.
but yeah, I realized I was like, and then what really did it for me was I'm an observant person, so I was watching what my coaches were doing for me and my teammates,
Sure.
taking them home, buying them food. Because where I went to school, we had a lot of like middle class and poorer kids. So seeing my coaches like every day after practice going home and getting them something to eat before they took them home, or helping them with things at home, I was like, that's what it's about to me. It wasn't about
Right.
the field stuff. I was like, they cared about us here. Like I was nowhere near. My mom did what she had to do to get us, but every year, my coach was like, hey, do you need cleats?
Right.
And I had a busted up pair of cleats one time. My coach walked up to my mom's car and was like, hey, if you need help, let me know. I don't want him walking around in these cleats. And mom was like, no, I got him a pair coming. Like seeing that is what made me want to coach. So,
Right.
um, yeah, about my junior year, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to get bigger. I was like, I want to go to college and play O line. Um, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Now, the only thing I wish is I love long snapping just as much. So I was like,
Yeah. Oh, nice.
yeah, I was like, I probably should have pushed harder, at least walk on somewhere and long snap
Sure.
and then see what happened. But I also didn't know about meal plans when you get to college. Um, I didn't know that they'd like, hey, we want you at 245 and
Right.
they'll feed you like a horse to get you
Oh
at
yeah.
245. So
Oh yeah.
if I would have known that, I probably would have pushed harder. But it's kind of like I made up my mind and I was like, this is what I want to do. So like, I
Right.
walked to my coach. I was like, hey, what do I need to do to coach? And that's where one of the receiver coach, Coach Lynn, actually gave me the advice. He's like, you gotta know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I got that down pat. So
Dude, that's funny you talk about the meal plan thing because I always tell this story. I might have told it on the podcast before, but if I have, I don't care. It's my podcast. I can do what I want. But we had a kid at Lake Forest my first year coaching who got super sick and was came in at like 260, got real sick and was down to like 235 or something. And so every time he'd come in the facility, he could not leave, whether he talked to me, whether he talked to the offensive coordinator, whether he talked to the head coach, literally could not leave until he ate two protein bars and drank a Sprite. Because the head coach always used to laugh. People were like, "Why Sprite?" He's like, "Because it's 150 calories. Like
yeah, yeah,
it's pure." So he would like just you'd see him like rolling his eyes, eating these protein bars and putting in like 800 calories in 10 seconds, but
yeah,
we had to bulk him back up. I think he ended up getting back up to like 255 or something. But yeah, it's funny the long snapping thing, man. It's a lost art.
it
If you're
is.
good at it, man, you can go far. The Patriots just drafted a long snapper in the 7th round today or
Yeah, and I
yesterday.
mean that's like what I try to tell my guys, even when it comes to center. I was like I was talking to a kid at the camp yesterday. I was like, he was a young kid and he played guard. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give you an early piece of advice you have probably heard. If you put that ball in your hand
Yeah.
and you learn how to snap it anyway, that's value added.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, but my coach just told me that. He told me about, I can't remember his name, but it was a dude who played for the Redskins back in the day who played like almost 30 years and all he did was long snap.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I
I
was
know. I
like,
can't remember his name either, but I know what you're talking about. Yep.
yeah, and I was like, man, I want to do that. But then I don't know. It's like I said, I got coaching in my head, and I was like, that's
Yeah.
what I want to do is like seeing the care of a true coach, and then the chess match of an offensive defensive coordinator. I was like,
Sure.
that's what I love. So I was like, and then what also did it was one of my, he's like a brother, I'm an only child, but he's my brother.
Sure.
Um, him coming into high school, he got cut from the middle school team, and when he was coming into high school, I was like, "Are you gonna play?" He was like, "No, I got cut." I was like, "Okay, so you're gonna play." I was like, "I'm not letting you not play because you don't feel
Right.
like it." So me and then one of my other brothers, our little friend group, every day during the summer, I only played football. So while all my other teammates were playing other sports or getting ready or whatever, um, during the off season of football, they came out to me and we sneak onto our field and they work out with me. So that was my first like bug of coaching because I was teaching them what they were going to learn when they got
Right.
into high school
Right.
from my O-line coach. And he ended up starting as a sophomore my senior year and got all conference and
Right.
ended up going to Catawba on an academic scholarship. Played football, but ended up wanting to quit because he had like 6 concussions in a week. Um, but that was my real bug, like coaching someone that is family to me and
hmm
seeing what I could do to help them. I was like, oh yeah, like this is why I was here. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's funny how I mean we all stumble onto the path a little bit differently, but it's like it's all different, but when you really boil it down, it's all the same too. Like everyone kind of gets
yeah,
in that someone they've had as a coach set them on that path like you were talking about, and then they take those lessons they learned and transferred into their own world. But
hmm
I meant to ask you as you were talking about Douglas Byrd, what class were you guys?
So at that time, because they just recently changed North Carolina again, we were 3A. We were
3A.
three
Okay.
small A. Yeah,
Three
yeah.
small A.
So
Okay. I'm
yeah,
trying to think of what I think we were two big A, two large
two
A. I
double
don't
A.
know. Yeah, I think so. I can't remember. It
Yeah.
was shoot. I mean, that was 2014. That was 11 years ago now. So it's been a while since I spent that time over there. But
Oh, you were
North
here when
Carolina,
I was in high school then.
yeah. So North Carolina's good football, man. Like
Oh
I've
yeah.
I always loved it's weird, but I always loved like looking at the names of the schools, like
hmm
Hickory and like Douglas Byrd, like all those names are always kind of like because I made a joke once, like all the schools in Arizona are all either like desert, mountain, or Vista, or like some sort of variation of those. So it's always cool looking at the school names. It's one of my weird little quirks I got.
Yeah.
So you've always been offensive line. Have you done anything else? I'm assuming you have aspirations to coordinate an offense, be a head coach at some point.
Yeah. So coaching wise, yeah. No, the only thing I've ever coached was offensive line.
hmm
Um, but yeah, my when I first started, my goal was to get to the NFL. But then as
Sure.
you learn more about the constant this and like the other thing, I'm like, I don't want to deal with all that.
Right.
And then I was like, college maybe, but I have 3 daughters. So like when I had my first daughter, I was like the constant like the season ends and you're right back on the road. I was like,
Right.
I already spent enough time away from my family as it is. I was like, I don't want to spend the time that I technically should be with them. So yeah, my goal now is, as I keep doing this, is become a head coach and kind of, if I'm good enough, create that pipeline school where, I'm
Sure.
getting kids in college and, creating good men, good athletes, all that stuff. Um, but at worst, yeah, I want to be a coordinator. That chess match of preparing and
Yeah.
all that, and like seeing like who I was with, Coach Stone, how he did it, and he was a guy who he's been coaching for like almost 40 years, so he's gone through every evolution of the game,
Right.
and he's not that old guy who gets stuck in his ways. Like when I was playing, we were running speed option and tunnel screens, that you would see. So that's why, like, I'm an Oklahoma State fan, but when I was in high school, I loved watching Oregon because they ran the same stuff as us with Chip
Right.
Kelly.
Right.
So, um, but then like with Coach G, I'm learning a more like technical side of things of like of how we're reading stuff and why we're running stuff.
Hmm.
So all that stuff is we definitely want to do, but I do want to eventually, make that transition where you try different positions to coach and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm just having so much fun learning more and more about the O line. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I because like an easy transition, I say easy loosely, but like go to D line because you learn so much about your position, you
Right.
learn about the other position. So I kind of like I'll give our D line coach is great, but every once in a while from an O line perspective, I'll tell the D lineman what we're thinking to help them.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're working your hands, I always tell them like if you hit wrist, elbow, or shoulder, you shut our arm down.
Right.
So like me doing that, I'm like that's kind of fun. But I'm like I'll keep learning over here, keep trying to find my niche over here, and
Yeah.
but yeah, as my career goes, yeah, that's definitely what I want to do. Kind of move around, try different things, and do all that
No,
stuff.
that's I mean, I think that's super important. I always talk to the D line when I'm now even, at the high school level, obviously it's a little bit different because you've got so many kids that play both ways. So,
Hmm.
you kind of have to cut in half the information you give them so you don't saturate their brain. But when I was coaching the college level, I would always talk to the D lineman like, what is this? What did this guy do? What's he trying? What's here? If I'm coaching against you, trying to block you, here's what here's your weak spots. Here's what I'm going for.
Hmm.
And then in the flip, like, hey, how are you? What are you like? I've had to change how I coach the offensive line because of uh, the lessons I learned from defensive linemen on our team, right? But
Hmm.
but like you talked about, like that's what good coaches do too. Not that I'm saying I'm a
Yeah.
good coach, but that's what coaches do. It's all part of the learning. The minute I've always told people the minute we stop wanting to learn as a coach, like it's done. We should just
Yeah, you're done.
be done coaching. Um, but yeah, no, I think it's important. And I'm the same as you. Like I always kind of helped the D line. I was always just kind of like, hey, I'm the offensive line coach. I'll help. I'll be the assistant D line coach and kind of just watch and help out. Um, but I've always wanted to branch out too. Like
Yeah.
I've always coached the offensive line. 99% of the time. I've always wanted to be like, hey, I'll help with the linebackers or I'll help with the DBs just to get a little bit more information for that chess game you're talking about, right? Like,
Hmm.
oh, here's why they're doing this. Here's what they're reading. Here's what they're looking at, and that just makes us better coaches all together.
Yeah.
Then we know how to manipulate the defense to attack them even better as an offensive play caller.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's interesting. It's I've also you seem probably kind of like me too, where if the coach told you to do whatever, you're gonna do it, and not
Yeah. And
that's
it
again, that's offensive lineman.
Yeah, I also think that's kind of getting lost in coaching. Being on the Twitterverse of coaching is you kind of when you click on someone, you read comments and you see some coaches talking about that, they don't do certain things or I'm like, dude, like some of my favorite stuff to do as an assistant coach is that little stuff. Like
Yeah.
before I started, so like I own a bread route, and before I was working at Chick-fil-A, like anytime there was a chance, like our head coach loved that dude, Coach Randolph. He's a great dude. He'd put in a group text like, "Hey, I'll be on the field um, at X amount clock or whatever. If anyone wants to come help, no thing, but come learn how to do it." I was like, I'm
Hmm.
there. Like,
Right.
I was like, learning how to paint a field. I feel like it's like learning how to paint a field and laundry is a gateway for like you have to do it. Like
Yep.
like if you know what I'm saying. So I was like, yeah, like I'll be down to do it. So like doing all that stuff is great. Um, another coach that I work with, Coach Fay, he's a Wisconsin native through and through. Um, but we have a drone that we use for practice, and he was the only one who doing us. I was like, show me how to fly the drone. So
Right.
he showed me how to get the drone up in the air. Um, we only usually have two coaches who upload film, so I was like, show me how to upload practice film, so you don't have to do all of it. So I'm
Right.
like that's why like we had a youth clinic for coaches last year, and I had this one guy walk up to me and start asking me questions. He's a newer coach, and I was like, the one piece of advice I can tell you as assistant is do be that guy. Like
Yeah.
anytime there's something that needs to be done, do it. And I was like,
Yeah.
and anytime before I leave, it's usually me or Coach Faye. We're usually always the last two leaving, whether it be practice or game day. I always find my head coach, hey coach, is there anything else we need to get done? And he
Yeah.
goes, no, we're good. So like I tell young coaches all the time, and I turn 29 next month, but I'm like doing this as I've been 18.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, find like be that guy, be the guy the coach can find. Like if he knows you're good at this, like
Yes.
Coach Fay example, he's great at building stuff. Coach Randolph's going to go to Coach Fay because we need something built. Like be that guy. Like if laundry needs to be done, learn how to do it.
Right.
Paint need to fit. Like go do that stuff. Equipment, putting up jerseys, folding
Oh
them. Like
yeah.
go do that stuff.
I'm like that too. Equipment, I've always done it. For some reason, I've always kind of gravitated towards equipment, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why. I think it was because I was sick of seeing kids wearing helmets that didn't fit or shoulder
Mm-hmm.
pads. You know what I mean? Like shoulder pads that
Yeah.
didn't fit. And so I started doing it my first year, maybe my second year coaching. I told the head coach, I was like, let me do this. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I will fit the helmets, I will fit the shoulder pads, I will give them their equipment. And it like so that led me, I actually did that at uh college where I was the equipment manager, handing all the stuff out, keeping inventories, doing all that stuff. Um, and again, it's part of it was you didn't want to see, you didn't want to give the good kid a bad helmet, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
a little bit of that, but also you wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that they got taken care of, all the kids got taken care of, from top down, and didn't have shoddy equipment, and didn't have garbage, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen an 18-year-old high school kid wearing youth shoulder pads.
Yeah.
And like what are we doing here? Like what the hell is this? Like so I've always gravitated towards that too. But I've never had I've been coaching for 19 years. I've never I take that back. Only one year I had to paint the field, and that was with
Mm-hmm.
a group of dads. So that was
Yeah.
a little bit different. That was you're helping out, you're laying the stencils down, but I never had to do the field paint, which knock on wood, and I don't know now if I could learn a new freaking a new trait, but
Yeah.
it is. You're right though, man. That's the stuff that separate good coaches from great coaches, and that's the stuff that shows head coaches loyalty, truthfully, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. Like if you're willing to do all that garbage, like it's not like you're getting paid extra to do that stuff. You're doing it because you love being around the program, love being around the kids, love being around the other coaches. And that's you talked about at the beginning of this, the unity with the offensive line. That's the unity with the coaching staff right there.
Yep.
Right? Like those are the best coaching staffs to work for, where it's not, hey, you tell coach he's got to do this, and he rolls his eyes and stomps his feet and bitches and moans and complains about it. No, he does
Yeah.
it because he knows he's going to do it. It's going to take an hour with his two buddies, and then they're going to go grab dinner or grab a beer, and head home. And like that's those are the fun staffs to be around. And more often than not, those are the staffs that win a lot of games.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that too, because like when I was at Hickory, so I was working for, like I said, Village was the same guy. So the guy I played for when he got the job at Village, my O line coach was going through his cancer. So hey, call Jake. He knows your offense. So he called me. So I got with him. So
Hmm.
when he moved to Hickory and I went up there with him, uh, I knew how he wanted everything. So like I automatically started, doing the jerseys and
Right.
doing all that stuff. So it kind of turned into like we had other coaches that helped and I loved them and stuff, but like I was doing a majority of it. So
Right.
when I got here to Jack Britt, it's all like very organized of like everyone's doing something.
Right.
So I'll never forget the very first game we get in, and I love this dude, Coach Abernathy. He's a great dude. He's our running back coach for our leadership development. If you have a question about leadership or how to conversate with somebody or whatever, he's the dude to ask. But so the game's over and everyone's kind of doing their thing, and I'm still learning how this staff works.
Right.
So I'm just sitting there,
Right.
and this dude's like, I'm talking ex-military to the point of like confidential till his grave, ex-military. So he walks in and he goes, unless you're a coordinator or the head coach, get your ass up and come in here. And I was like, oh, all right, come on, I'm coming.
Yeah, but so
and
yeah, but sometimes we got to be told, right? Because we don't
yeah,
know. And
yeah, that's what I
you
told him.
don't
I was
want to
like,
step on anybody's toes either.
yeah, and that's why I was like, he was like, man, I'm sorry I had to get. I was like, no, I'd rather you tell me than not tell me. I
Yeah.
was like, I just didn't know. So, but ever since then, like, it's, I'll get there before games and I'll help pass out jerseys that are left over from fourth period, or,
Yeah.
you know, we kind of have a thing with me and some of the other coaches where like this coach always grabs the buggy, the rest of us pick it up. I go get the washer ready. Like we have a system now where we can just
Right.
knock it out and rock it out. So yeah, man, doing that stuff, that's the other fun part of coaching, as weird as it sounds, like the extra work. Um, but like I also was told by I don't remember who it was, but it's one of those things I'll never forget where it's like, if your aspiration is to be a head coach, when you do those things, you'll learn how you like them done when you're the head coach. So
Absolutely.
like so like my head coach, Coach Stone, when I was working for him, he does his uniforms differently than we do them now, Jack Britt. So now like I have two ideas of which
Right.
way I would like when they're taken care of. So it's like doing those things is how you learn whenever you get there what you want to do and what you don't want to do.
Right.
So like the more you do them, the more you learn them.
Right. No, no doubt. It's chances are that guy when he came in there and said that, it wasn't talking to you, was talking to somebody else and just used you as,
Yeah,
it
probably.
was the group. But I
Yeah.
get what you're saying, man, and it's tough. It's tough too. I'll tell you this as a former head coach, learn to delegate.
Hmm.
If you can delegate something, first of all, you find out who your guys are, right? Because like if you delegate something and it's done right and correctly, that's your guy. You know that you can trust that guy, and you find out the guys who don't want to do stuff. But then it's because I'm like you, man. I have things that I've done over my time that I do a certain way, and I picked up little tidbits kind of from this school and that school and this coach and that coach. But I like to stick to my routine too.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's tough sometimes when you go into new places to change that routine up. But it's all part of coaching, man. It's all part of growing up
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and getting better. So, all right, man. Last question I got for you. If you could put together a Mount Rushmore of offensive linemen from guys you played with, guys you coached, or guys you're a fan of, who would be on that five-man offensive line?
So I've been ready for this question. Every time I listen, I go, God, I love this part. So I got two for you.
Okay.
I'll do the all time and then guys I played with because
Okay. Good.
coaching, I'm gonna get someone like, Coach, why don't you put me on there?
Yeah.
But all time, left tackle would be Joe Thomas.
Okay.
Um, because when I first got into really like loving O line, the two guys I looked at the most, not even to try to emulate what they did, but just to see how they played, was Joe Thomas and Tyrone Smith.
Yep.
Um, but just the way he played. Left guard, I got Larry Allen as a Cowboys fan. You know, I'm going to tell you, both my guards are Larry Allen and Zach Martin.
That's all right. That's
So
I think those were the same two I had last week too, so it's fine. It's
yeah,
it's yeah.
so like right now as a Cowboys fan and just as an O line guy, I'm not ever happy to be a Cowboys fan anyway. But as an O lineman to lose Tyrone Smith and Zach Martin in the same
I know.
offseason, yeah, I'm not doing okay. Like all my friends tell me, like, "Are you okay?" No, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Um, my center is Jason Kelsey, just for the fact of what he's able to do. Like I know all the other greats that have been around,
Yeah.
but I feel like just what he was able to do. Like one of my favorite clips is where he outside zone and he ran and reached the three technique.
Yeah.
And some like I was talking to someone, they're like, "What's so special?" I'm like, "I don't think you understand. Like a
Yeah.
center to run and reach." I was like, "I don't
Yeah.
think, yeah, we're done with this conversation." Um, and then at right tackle, just so I had him on there, moved Tyrone Smith over there. Um,
Okay.
and I was gonna preface this by I know the all-time greats, and I've learned them, I studied them: Orlando Pace, Jonathan Ogden,
Sure.
further back, Jim Otto, and all like how do you say his last name? Bedrenick or whatever, the
Oh,
old
Bednarik,
Eagles.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Bednarik. Um, John Hanna. Like, trust me, I know all those guys. I just
Yeah.
never saw them play. You know what
No,
I'm
no, no.
saying?
This
So,
is no, this that your five is perfect for your age. Like
yeah, yeah,
that's like you watched all those dudes like
yeah.
in their prime of their game. So no, that's a good group, man.
Um, and then for guys I played with, left tackle, I got he was a junior when I was a senior, Marley. He ended up playing at North Carolina Central here.
Hmm.
Ended up starting near the end of his career, but he was just like, he had everything you want in O lineman as far as like aggressiveness. He was long, he wasn't very big, but like the swag and like the
Hmm.
cockiness that every once in a while you need one O lineman that kind of has that like arrogance about him, but he
Oh yeah.
controls it. That was him. Um, but me and him bonded really well over my senior year because he struggled with a lot of things and he wouldn't always remember where to go. So I kind of like as we're going, I help him out. But that's my guy.
Right.
Left guard is my buddy Montez. We graduated together, but he only started on the O line as a sophomore when he first moved to our school.
Okay.
Then ended up being crazy enough. He was an all conference as a sophomore at left guard, and then for his senior year, he was all conference at linebacker, and he was a dog.
Yeah.
But he was one of the ones a part of that team when I was a sophomore that were 13-0. This dude he came in and was bullying people immediately. Um, Center, I got a kid named Brian Sylvester. Uh, he was our unhinged O lineman. He was psychotic. He ended up aging out his senior. He was a part of that sophomore year team, but he ended up aging out. He was a junior that year going into senior. He aged out, but this dude was like when I first was like as a freshman, he was a sophomore, and we started together on JV. And he's over there like talking trash in the O line about snap the ball, like talking about
Yeah.
people's moms and the way. I'm like, Brian, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And
You need a
he was
couple
like,
of those guys too.
yeah. I was like,
Usually they're centers.
yeah, and long hair, like center long hair. He's a psycho. And then right guard's my brother Mike. Like I said, started on the team when I was a senior, and from the jump, like he was bullying people one on ones. Like he was, and like the modest technique was great. Like from his first day in pads, I knew he was going to start on varsity because he impressed all our coaches immediately,
Hmm.
and that's my guy. And then right tackle is who I looked up to playing. Uh, a dude named Justin Short. He was the one that kind of embodied what I saw was like what it took to be an O lineman. So like I have what these things when I coach called no fails. I have four of them: aggressive violence, chase the play, pick up your guy, celebrate.
Hmm.
And the pick up your guy I got from him. So we were playing a game and someone tackles the running back and they're taking too long to get off him. So he's physically moving dudes,
Right.
like picking them up by their shoulder pads and pants and moving them and gets his guy off the ground. And then there was one game we were playing a school here called Grace Creek, and sophomore year he was a part of that O line, and we had a play call. I'm watching him, and because they're going this way, we're on the sideline over here. I see him turn around. He checks the play to the quarterback.
Yeah.
Our quarterback checks the play to what Justin said, and we score or we get the first down and we end up scoring. And I was like, bro, to see an old lineman turn around, check
Yeah.
the play.
That's cool.
That's what embodies. So that would be, and like when I played JV and all that stuff, the only two people I cared to say if I knew what I was doing well was my O line coach and Justin. So I
Right.
remember one time like after a play, I was like, Justin, did you see that? He goes, no, I wasn't paying attention. I was like, God bless America. I was
Yeah.
like, pay attention.
Right. Watch. Dang it.
Yeah, but those would be my guys. Those are guys I've played with that all like easily, if they all stayed on the line or kept playing, they easily could have played in college for a long time.
Right. No, that's cool, man. The good list. I like them. So, all right, man. Before I get you out of here, do me a favor, drop your Twitter handle for everybody, and let them know where else they can find you if they want to talk some football.
Oh yeah, so I have two Twitters. My main one is Coach Jake 52. No, Coach Jake OL. Or I mess it up. That's my main one. That's the one where it's me. And then I run a O line training, long snap training thing,
Okay.
um, called Five in the Arena. Um, so those where you can find me. It's on IG, Twitter. That's the stuff I'm on the most. Just like everyone else, I'm willing to talk ball and hang out. That's what I love to do. So any questions that I can ever offer, because I think I'm ready to reach that point in my coaching career where
Sure.
now younger dudes are coming to me and asking questions because I love doing that. Like I
Yeah.
said, like I hit you up on Twitter, I'll hit Coach Leggett up, I'll text him, Coach Tatum.
Yeah.
Like that's some of the best part of coaching is like when you actually find the good coaches that are still out there
For
that
sure.
won't like gatekeep answers or like be irritated to talk to you or something like that. Like that's the best
No.
stuff.
And I got my problem when I do that is I forget. I always like I'll reach out to, like people will be like, "Hey man, I got a question," and they'll text me like late at night or something. I'll be like, "Yeah, shoot me a message in the morning because I'm 100% gonna forget that
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
did this." So, but that's good, man. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on talking with me, man. Wish you nothing but the best of luck and hoping to watch you guys have a good season this year and we'll definitely talk a little bit more down the road.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, you too.